What's going on, Doombots? Tony Scungili here with his video on costumes, right? It's about time we did it. So a lot of people have a lot of questions about costumes. I want to make sure I got everything right. I talked to the right people, tested what I could, trying to demystify or take away a lot of the fear people have about costumes. So I'm going to start with the character I'm most comfortable discussing, and we'll move into characters that either I'm not as comfortable discussing their costume value, or I'm relying heavily on output from other people to make those determinations. So the first and foremost is costumes in this game are gear, period. So if you don't know that already, you do now. This is just how they look. Every costume has a different appearance set, but all modern costume pieces are the same. Okay. That's all you need to know. So you want to collect different appearance sets to make your character look cool, but once you have 4 different modern pieces, you have the completed set. Different costumes give different set bonuses. In the same any MMORPG would, the more you have, the more set bonuses you go on. So most characters have a good 11, 12 costumes that they can pick from. I'm going to try to help you understand which costumes benefit the character the most. Keep in mind, there is no one correct across-the-board answer for any character. Most characters have many different builds. A lot of characters have many different builds as you level them. Some characters are really good early on at doing single target damage. Some characters with the right kind of gear and setup look to be a little bit better at AoE, PvP, you know, things change. Stats that don't matter at 100,000 power matter a lot at 1,000,000 power. And of course, different builds based on how you want to play the character. So this is just going to be a small tier list of the costumes, kind of going through them. And just for the record, they're all getting put into a database that I will make available as soon as I organize this database well enough for you. So we're going to start out with Storm, and just spoilers alert, here's basically everything you need to know about it. There are very few bad costumes for any character. Just in general, there are sets that you don't work on, and there's very few great costumes. You want to fall somewhere in between the average. So I'm separating them by 3 different versions. The first you're going to see right here, these are more or less everything. This is the regional pieces. These are your reach gear, the best case scenario gear. Generally speaking, a regional piece is from a region of the game. Even Savage Shadowlands, which is not currently in the game, is going to be a region in the game. So these also boost not just stats a little bit better than regular items, but instead of boosting an individual ability of a character, it boosts every ability within the class. Boostifies? Boosteddies. Let's go with that one. So we're going to start with them, right? And we're going to go through the costumes, look at their appearance and everything. We're going to start with New Stark City. So the New Stark City costume, just to show you right here, generally speaking, this is obviously showing you the highest level. Regional gear, region costumes have higher stats. Not much higher, usually about 50 or 100 points, and about 1 to 2% higher percentages here. The bonus stats, they're still bonus stats, right? You want to make sure you roll the stats that matter for your character. Depending on your build, different stats matter. You should look at things like enhanced potential and spec tree to find out what the most important stats are, and eventually I'll go through a character build to show you what the most important things are. In the meantime, right now, I want to help you not waste any time or effort on gear by looking at what sets are going to be beneficial, even if the stats don't line up. Storm, in general, things that matter to her are specific to her than nobody else's. The debuff or status effect chance is very important. Dodge can be very relevant to her. It's basically her only defensive stat. And then cooldown reduction is another one. As far as damage is concerned, crit and debuff or defense pierce are more or less interchangeable for her, considering her spells hit multiple times. So you're just going to want to find whichever one makes the most sense for you and build up. As far as the damage stats are concerned, it's not going to be a big deal. And the bonus stats are pretty standard as to what they can drop based on what slot of gear they are. We've already done that in a different gear video. So the New Stark City gives a 2-piece set bonus of attack, a 3-piece set bonus of defense pierce, so all damaging effects, and 4-piece set bonus of ultimate skill levels plus 6, 5, 4, 3, you know, as it goes, as you have your gear ranked up, it'll be higher. A full set of rank 6 gear will give you rank 6. A full set of rank 5 gear will give you rank 5. And there's some degrees of changes. You can have like a couple of 5s and some 2s, and it'll average out. You'll see as you equip the gear. But ultimately, Storm's ult is not one of the better abilities. It's very short range. It takes forever to get off. She's vulnerable the entire time. So this is a B-rated gear set, just because it's not the best thing you can do with Storm. You're not trying to lean into it. That said, as we all know, and I'm going to say this a lot, all the time, stats matter more than gear sets. This is more of a, hey, if you have to make the choice between two similar items, which one is better kind of thing. So, New Stark City for Storm, not impressive. Moving to the next option we have is Xanderth. Now, Xanderth is actually A tier. Not the best, but a good option. The first reason why is it gives the Lightning Cloud class skill plus 6, so any of her lightning attacks will go up by whatever rank, and it's the same attack and defense pierce setup, so makes her significantly more damaging. Based on the other set that does this, the defense pierce might be a little bit better or worse depending on how the rest of your build goes out, so it's possible that Xanderth might be better for you based on what you're doing, but it's a good set. If you end up having a 3 or 4-piece Xanderth set, you will still be among the strongest Storms in the game. Other than that, how does it look? Meh. Meh. The haircut's kind of weird. It's got this weird fuzzy thing. And then just to go back and show you Nuke Stark City. Also, I mean, it's your choice, not mine. Moving to the next is Midgardia. Midgardia is an S-tier set. Now, I know a lot of people are going to question that. Why specifically? And it's because Air Current and that entire class of Air Current, not any one ability, makes Storm shine in Omega War. And for PvE content. So, if you're trying to single target a Dimension Duel, you're not going to get much value out of the Air Current stuff. But if you look at the best abilities Storm utilizes for PvP stuff, specifically Omega War, and her spec tree and everything else, the Air Current skill is insane. You don't even realize you're using about 3 or 4 Air Current abilities just because of how strong they are. They do have really long cast times, but most of the Air Current skills that are high impact, you don't actually have to be on the ground or near the person to cast them. They're cast on spot, and they go from where she is outwards with pretty decent range. So for Omega War, this is one of the best sets. You wouldn't feel bad about having a really strong version of this build for her to make her shine in mid to late game Omega War setups. This is a secondary gear set, though. It has some good value in PvE. As far as Dark Zone is concerned, it's actually also really good because of the chaotic nature of Dark Zone, but you can also accidentally kill people. So, as we've already discussed, Dark Zone's kind of a weird setup. We don't have to look at it too much. So, that's it for Midgard. I think it's a really good set. I think if you happen across it, don't feel bad about it. And it's probably better than most of the others. Then we have Sakaar. Sakaar boosts Deep Freeze class skills, and all of Storm's Deep Freeze class skills suck. They don't do as much as you'd like. They're very low cooldowns. They're very time-consuming effects. And it requires you to go outside of the best case scenario for building your spec tree. So while there is a chance that very late game, very full invested Storms can make do with a Deep Freeze class skill, the debuffs of stun on paper look really good. In practice, they don't do much. In addition, most of her Deep Freeze skills that you try to use all the time, really, really hard to get off without getting counterattacked in some way or getting dodged in another way. So avoid this if you can. Obviously, if the stats roll well, YOLO, but no big deal. Next, we have Hydra Empire. This is what I consider the best set on Storm as far as what you can reasonably get. I think the critical rate going up helps her a lot, especially because critical rate tends to be a very high roll, and it's one of the few things you can actually core for in your battle badges. You can actually add critical damage and critical rate. Defense Pierce has an opportunity, but not as frequent in battle badges, and the cores, you just don't see them in cores yet. So because of that, because you have control over how strong and how often your character can crit and how you itemize for it, I think this is one of the better sets, if not the best set, S-tier set you can put on Storm, just for that purpose, right? And because of that, I recommend going for this if you are looking to farm an endgame regional piece set. This is one of the best, if not the best, available right now as something you can farm. Last, we have Savage Shadowlands. Now, again, this is gacha only, G-A-C-H-A. Gacha means you spent money, or you got lucky. It's really hard to justify getting a full gacha set. In addition, as far as this set's concerned, B. This is a B-tier set. The reason why is it increases her defense by 5% and her supervillain damage by a decent amount. One, impossible to get without spending, and I'm not talking about a little money, I mean quite a bit of money, so hard to come by. In addition, it's almost exclusively a Dark Zone set, or a soloing set, if you're trying to solo raids. It gives you a little bit of bonus, but that's nothing compared to the fact that the 4-piece set bonus for this hard-to-come-by set is Air Current class, which kind of, as we said before, Air Current's a great kind of PvP set for Omega War, but in Omega War, supervillain damage doesn't matter. But in Dark Zone, it does, but you're still spamming your abilities and accidentally killing people that you might not want to be killing, or having less control over what your attacks are actually hitting. Generally speaking, the Air Current classes don't do the most damage, they just do the most chaotic damage. So as far as this set's concerned, it doesn't have an end game yet. There's no real purpose for it. If you get a piece, that's great. That piece might have good sets. Do not go out of your way for this set. As far as all of the regional gear pieces, avoid it like the plague. Moving to the next sets, we have the standard gear. Now, the standard gear, for the most part, is gear you can happen across or come by. There are always some that are gacha-based, but for the most part, these are items that you'll get from randomly opening your 1 to 3 star boxes you get occasionally. Starting with the modern gear set, this is the one of 2 pieces that are C-tier sets. This is a set that you want to use and dump or start using as pieces for better gear as soon as you can. Now, you can buy this set on any character the second that character hits level 10. I recommend doing it. It'll make the PvE leveling experience way easier, but ultimately, the attack increase and defense pierce is no different than anybody else's, just at a much lower level. The basic attack skill, level 6, your basic attack is fundamentally useless in this game. It's only, for most characters anyway, it's really only showcased on characters that use long cooldown attacks. Storm is not inherently one of those characters. Her basic is very good, and you use it a lot in like Dimension Duel, but not much going on for modern. If you want to use it as a leveling set, it is an absolutely great leveling set. I wouldn't ever take it past like purple. I wouldn't even take it to purple. By this time, you'll probably have better pieces that you should work on. If you do happen to have perfect rolls of stats that you think are great on the character, I guess you can lean on it a little bit more, but I promise you'll find plenty of other gear through play in the game and some of the better sets. This is one you want to skip as fast as you can. Next, we have the Goddess of Thunder set. This increases pressure manipulation. Pressure manipulation is a sus ability. It is a very long cooldown ability. It doesn't really impact you in any way, so the 2- and 3-piece set bonus, which is great. As you can see, most of them are going to be attack and defense pierce in general. That's great to use, but as far as going for the full, complete 4-piece set, that pressure manip is completely useless. So only use this piece of gear if you happen to have 3 pieces of it that are absolutely insane, or 2 pieces that are insane and 2 pieces of another set that you're working on that are insane. You know what I mean? Like great stat rolls, everything's perfect, HP and dodge and, you know, crit rate and attack and all that kind of jazz. This is not one to skip. 80s Storm, I believe, is probably one of the better Storm gear sets that you should work on as early as you can, and the reason why is Weather Witch is one of Storm's abilities that you almost exclusively use on every build of Storm you're going to want to use. Doesn't matter if you're doing AoE or a single target, Weather Witch is on every loadout you ever put on Storm. Because of that, building this 4-piece set will always give you value since, as we've said in many other videos in the past and streams, you want to stick to the abilities that you use across the board when you're looking at these itemizations. So if you have any 80s pieces, those are the ones you're going to want to hope you get really good rolls on or work towards, because that's where the 4-piece set's going to give you the most bonus. Weather Witch is one of Storm's best abilities, most used abilities. Absolutely, hands down, no question asked. Worth the investment. Then we go into the 90 Storm. We'll skip that real quick. Very similar. Atmosphere Control is another ability that you do tend to use on Storm quite often, depending on what version, whether it's cold or hot. And since a lot of Storm's abilities change their class type across the board, you don't get punished for going all in on one type of ability, especially this one, because it could be utilized as a Frost or a Shock or a Wind ability. So another one that benefits you in the same way. This is another decent one. Not as good as the 80 set, which was A, so this is a little bit less, maybe low A, high B tier. You got it, you can use it. Moving into Queen of Wakanda, we have Lightning Attack skill. This is another skill that you use on Storm pretty much no matter what build you're using, because it's a great either AoE or single target attack. Same rules apply because of the 2- and 3-piece set being the same, no fear there. You can go pretty decent in your build and get a decent chunk of this attack. Also qualifies as an A tier gear set. Feel free to use them, and to be honest, not too shabby on the eyes. Then we have Wind Rider. This is one of the purchasable sets, and you'll notice it's purchasable because I didn't buy it. This is actually terrible. Okay, so the cool thing is if you buy the set when it starts off, I think it's one of the cheaper sets you can pick up, either for gems or, you know, crystal, whatever. Basic attack skill, as we've already determined, it's okay. It's a good starter set. But the Wind Rider skill, you're going to stop using immediately as you start figuring out that it doesn't do anything for Storm. So you actually miss out on quite a bit of stat damage or raw damage in lieu of a skill that you're not going to use. Skip this gear completely. This is... It's not quite the worst gear I've ever seen. Like, it's a hair better than the modern set, even though it's just this. Just because of... It gives you a little bit extra bonus for damage on an attack that you might be able to use, but it's not going to give you any edges. This is a B+ gear set, and you have to buy it. So don't ever... If you buy it, great. Just use it as gear to farm and feed into better gear you get later. I would rather a 4-piece set of like 80s or 90s gear at, you know, 5-star than ever touching the Wind Rider gear past what you get when you buy it. Then we go to Extraordinary. This is Atmokinesis. Atmokinesis is a cute ability, but not a good ability. There's nothing else I can say on that. B. You will use it in a couple of different game modes, but increasing its skill level is not really going to be beneficial to you at any level, let alone at level 5 and 6. So it's great set of abilities. You do tend to use these a lot on Storm for defensive purposes or cooldown purposes, but realistically, any amount of... These guys would have to roll so good for you to even consider building this. Same rules apply, though. If you have 3 really good pieces, go for it. You know, if the rolls, if by the time you look at them, the rolls are pretty reasonable, you're only going to use the 3-piece set bonus. Don't go out of your way for the 4. It's not going to do anything for you. Astonishing, which also kind of crazy looking. I don't know. I just love it. Some of her costumes are crazy. Astonishing bonuses, deep freeze skill. As a rule, deep freeze skills generally suck. This specific deep freeze skill, you're going to be tricked as you level into thinking it's good. It's not good. It's probably her worst ability. It takes forever to cast, can be interrupted. And even if it does cast, it casts around her, so anyone can just not be around her and ignoring it. Quite literally awful, awful ability. I would recommend, if you rolled perfect rolls on these, still not wasting your time on it. This is C tier garbage gear. Then we have the X-Men uniform, which is really cool. Same kind of thing applies. The Wind Rider, you know, it's as good as the Wind Rider costume because it gives the Wind Rider skill. I think it might be a hair better than the Wind Rider costume because Defense Pierce is probably better than a stronger basic. That's a math problem that I'm not doing right now. I found it in play that Defense Pierce is more important. That said, Wind Rider's a garbage skill. 3-piece at best. Don't worry about trying to complete this set unless you like the costume. And for what it's worth, the costume's not the worst thing I've ever seen. Then we had the new set, Moscow Knights, came out with launch. First of all, the appearance. Okay. The hairstyle's not bad. But the actual gear pieces, attack and crit rate, the new set does give crit rate, which I think is a little bit better than Defense Pierce, but depends on really where you are at the game and what you're trying to do. And then, unfortunately, Icicle Crash. At least Icicle Crash is a reasonably good skill. It's a single target skill for the most part, and it's your highest damage single target skill. So at least if you have this set at 4-piece, you're absolutely obliterating people in 1-1 PvP. It's not the worst set, but there's different parts of the game. This is, if you happen across it, if you buy it, you know, whatever, however you come across it, this is probably one of the best sets you can come across and work on, assuming the stats roll well, but you could do better. It's B tier. We have the 2 new special costume sets at the end of it. The first is Steampunk. Looks kind of cool. Atmosphere Control +6. Lightning Cloud Class Sail +6. This is an S tier gear set. This is also only available for gacha, so this is for whales only. You can stop watching or skip to the end of this video if you'd like now. This is a whale only set. This 4-piece set is amazing. This 3-piece set is amazing because the 2-piece set that gives this award is also good. So you're going to lose out on a little bit of value, but if you notice, the attack and the attack percentages are way higher on this piece than they are on even most of the regional gear, which that is not. So just to show it to you right here, this is 819.8. This is 870 and 21.6. The stats do, and they all at each level down, the stats do even out. This is a really good set. If you have the means to buy it, please by all means do so. And of course we have Rise of the East. This is for PvP. If the other ones we were talking about that are air current were acceptable, this is the best version of acceptable. So this is like an A tier set. If you're lucky enough to pull off the 4-piece set on this, okay. If you get the 3-piece set, a little bit less valuable than like Steampunk was. So if you're looking to spend, I would probably go on the other way. At least you know that this isn't the worst option. And then of course we have the nanotech infusions. I just don't want anybody wasting any resources or money or anything. Good enough, but so unlikely for you to get that you shouldn't worry too much about it. This would really only be the specific to Omega War / you know, Dark Zone gear, and that's not too many people are going to be looking for multiple sets for one character to do one things, when it's so much easier to build different characters as opposed to just getting gear on one. It's easy to get 2 characters, one really good at one thing and one really good at another, to like 800 or 900k than it is to get these specific gear sets you want for other stuff. So, and then just to showcase the gear set, it also looks pretty cool. Actually, all of the Rise of the East looks really cool, as you're going to see as we go through. So that's it for Storm costumes. I don't know what else to tell you. The tier list, I'll put a little picture of it up there. Hopefully this was helpful to you. But it's just really simple stuff, and eventually I will show you guys the full spreadsheet of the ratings. This way, as new gear comes out, I don't have to do a whole new video on it. I could just update the spreadsheet. Anyway, hopefully this information was helpful. Stay tuned for the other 7 characters, plus, of course, Magic when she comes out. Have a good night. Have a great day. I've been Tony Scungili, and I will catch you later.